It's the weekend. That means it's time to look at the week ahead. And we got a special guest, Mark Camaro. Welcome to Fantasy NBA Today podcast, a sports ethos presentation hosted by yours truly, Aaron Bruski, and the great Dr. A, FSWA Hall of Famer Dr. A. I'm contractually obligated to say that, sir.
No, you're not.
Yeah, you put it in the contract, and I can't look you in the eye. Last time I looked you in the eye with Mark on the show, we had a 10-minute laughing fit. I won't make that mistake again. We got Mark Camaro, Dynasty expert and expert on all things basketball in general. So it's going to be a great show. We're going to talk about this upcoming week. If you're playing this week, you're either in a 30-team league and have advanced to the championship round final week. Shout out Dr. A as you attempt to slay the dragon known as Mike Passador. And you're in a roto league otherwise. And really, I love this. I love roto leagues. I love silly season. You know, while the head-to-head universe is commiserating because player X isn't playing in roto leagues, that's just fun. It's fun. We're out there picking up the cream of the silly season crop, and it's actually a skill-based endeavor. It is awesome. But we'll get you through all of that. As far as the back end of the show goes, we're going to be looking at Dynasty heavily. And because we have Mark on the show, we're going to spend a lot of time doing that. But looking at the week ahead, we have 6 teams that have 3 games. So it is worth mentioning their names and just take a little mental note, or you can jot it down on your pad there. Toronto, Portland, Dallas, Denver. That dramatic pause there was the cough button. Houston and Utah are your 6 teams that have 3 games. So you kind of have to deal with that on a case-by-case basis. Every other team in the league than the 6 I mentioned earlier, they have 4 games this week. We have a lot of games. The week breakdown, it's a classic end of season week. You have a Monday with 2 games. That's it. Tuesday, 10 games. Wednesday, 10 games. Thursday, 5 games. So your 2 quality days here are going to be Monday and Thursday. And then you get Friday, 15 games, Sunday, 15 games as we sprint to the finish. And those days are just like crazy. Personally, 10 of 13 teams of mine are competing for a top 3 finish in high stakes. So a lot of deep breathing going on there. And those Friday-Sunday combo is just something else in a roto format. Now, Detroit is the only team playing on both low traffic days. So I'll bring in my comrades for this show. We'll just kind of get right to it here. They play Monday and Thursday. So not a great streamer team. Mark, I'm going to bring you in first. How are you, first of all, sir? And then who do you like from Detroit to stream?
I'm doing great. As you said, this last week is always a little crazy. I'll probably be focusing more on draft scouting, honestly, with all the teams resting. But hey, the Friday-Saturday is always interesting. My Rockets are still jostling for that 2nd seed, which, depending on where the Clippers land, maybe we don't want that, but that's more real life and playoff basketball than fantasy here in the last week. Looking at just Detroit, yeah, I'm kind of harking to it. Not really the greatest streaming team. And you have Isaiah Stewart if you want blocks and if technical fouls is a category in your league. You have Dennis Schroeder, who's getting a little bit more of a solidified
Hey, at least
role,
you didn't say cheap shots.
Yes, that too. I mean, if you want cheap shots, then you can get the double whammy of Isaiah Stewart and Dennis Schroeder, I guess.
Way to bring Schroeder into that. I like that.
And then if you're really deep, I mean, maybe Simone Fontecchio or Ron Holland, but I don't think you can trust any of them minutes-wise. JB Bickerstaff kind of goes with who he's feeling at the moment. So you're going to have better options, I think, even on those days. Maybe not the Monday with 2 games, but probably on the Thursday.
What's up, Doc? How you doing over there?
I'm doing all right.
Yeah,
I'm doing all right. I got a question before I talk about Tim Hardaway Jr. again.
Ooh.
Back in the day when you set up a league at Yahoo or ESPN, it just defaulted till the end of the season, right?
Yes, it did.
And then we would get on our shows and our articles and stuff we were doing at Roto World. We're like, we cannot be playing these last 2 or 3 weeks of the season. You can't do it in head to head. And so we start changing our leagues manually I'm just curious, are there people out there possibly still playing head-to-head leagues until the very end of the season?
You know,
I
go
have
for
a
it. Mark.
I have a dynasty league that drafted a little later. It's kind of a test of a Devi dynasty league, and so it looks like I should be making those the championship. But the championship week is the last week in the season because we did not actually change the league settings in time. So not only is it head to head, but it's also head to head in dynasty. So
Okay, so I'm not crazy in like I think our mentality is, oh, obviously nobody's playing the last week. A lot of people are.
It's
And
yeah.
I don't think we should necessarily blow off the last 2 weeks of the season because every league is different. 30 deep. I'm playing next week, hopefully.
There is also a rule of thumb, not just in like fantasy, but like general NBA coverage, where our little bubble online in Twitter or Blue Sky now, like it's not representative of the general public. That's why you see these rostership percentages that you just kind of like, well, you're like, what? How come nobody has player X or whatever? It's just the scope of Twitter or social media is just the footprint's not as big as we think it is. It affects things from maybe a top-down perspective, media narratives, things like that. But yeah, there's a 2 million players on fantasy for fantasy basketball on ESPN, and I would probably venture it's maybe like 100,000 that are truly engaged in the game itself to research it online and to do all of the different things. Maybe my numbers are wrong. I don't know.
and I can add in, like, in our subscriber Discord, we have people popping off with questions left and right, trying to get the best streamers or trying to identify the best streamers for their championship and playoff matchups. And Keston and myself and other experts have been constantly answering questions this week, for the upcoming week, the weeks before. It honestly might be one of the crazier months along with the beginning of the season.
I mean, as much as people like to complain about it, it's a lot of fun. And get it to the Discord. You just go to sportsethos.com and click the Discord. Yeah, there's a big link. You just click the Discord and doc. You'll be so excited to know that it's its own platform. Pardon me, where people huddle up and they talk about stuff. And we have an entire community of people in Discord just chopping it up all day, every day about fantasy.
Well,
considering
they're blowing up right now.
You're texting me at 3 a.m. like, all the time. I would think you'd be in the Discord, dude. There's all sorts of stuff going on in that Discord.
So just to sum up my question, if you're watching this right now, go check out Discord. It's blowing up right now. Mark is in a league that runs till the end of the year. I am in a league that runs till the end of the year. All your roto leagues are going till the end. Andre's home league goes all the way to the end. I mean, I think there's probably a bunch of head-to-head leagues out there where people didn't change the settings and they're playing till the end. So they're
going to be trying to figure out who to stream on Friday and Sunday with 15 games at pop. That's going to be a ferocious mix. All right, Detroit. Did you have a take, sir?
Tim Hardaway Jr. I mean, I can't believe I'm kind of into Tim Hardaway Jr. and Harry Barnes right now, which is totally not something that I'm generally
you're totally sold out to the man.
Friday, Tim Hardaway had 32 points and 7 3-pointers. Sunday, he had 20 points and 3 3-pointers, a block and a steal. Wednesday, 23 points, 3 boards, 3 assists, 5 3-pointers. Those are his last 3 games played. Tobias Harris is hurt. I think Tobias Harris might be done. He got hurt in the last game. It's his Achilles tendinopathy, I think it's called. And I will be surprised if Tobias Harris keeps playing. Mark mentioned Fontecchio, but it also helps a guy like Tim Hardaway Jr. So Tim Hardaway Jr. to me is a very interesting pickup. Now, he could cool off just as quickly as he got hot, because before that 3-game explosion, he went 0, 10, 8, 11, 10, 11. Like it was bad, but he's hot right now. So maybe you ride the hot hand. And then I think Dennis Schroeder is automatic as long as Cade Cunningham's not playing. You play Dennis Schroeder if Cade's not playing.
Yeah. Detroit has a limited set of guys to pick from there. And it is what it is. But if they need scoring, Tim Hardaway Jr., I mean, when Cade's been out and Detroit made the big push and really kind of gained a lot of momentum in their national storyline, it was Tim Hardaway Jr. that they relied on for that offense. We've got some Monday and Wednesday squads: Miami, Philly, Sacramento, Detroit. Let's get a little bit of streamer action from you, Mark. Who do you like the best out of that quartet?
I think the name I like the best is Adam Bona. Just for some stuff, mainly more the defensive stats and rebounds, but he had an offensive explosion on Thursday night. I think it was, I blurred this, so I should know it. I believe it was 11 of 13 from the field and 23 or 25 points, which
26, I think.
Maybe 26. I don't
15.
remember.
Yep.
I got one of the numbers right with the field goals.
That's blurbing in a nutshell. Great dig there, Mark.
Yes. But I mean, most of it is play finishing. He's not really creating these shots, but he's a really great energy player. Just makes himself involved, which is normally great for rebounds, good for defensive stats. And that's really what you're looking at him for. And then the points are just extra cherries on top. If you can get that, great. But if you need defensive stats and rebounds, you got to give Adam Bona a look here.
I mean, he's just been amazing. So I don't know how he's available, but he is out there. So we definitely go. I'd say drop what you're doing right now and go pick him up. Doc, who else you got?
Just keep in mind, Bona only plays one game the rest of this week. Everybody else plays two. I mean, 6 teams play one game the rest of the week, and everybody else plays two. So, but if you're looking ahead to next week, Philly plays 4, and Bona should be rostered everywhere if you're playing next week. Even if you're not playing next week, you want him for Saturday. He's that hot. Davion Mitchell, I'm having some allergy issues right now. Davion Mitchell for the Heat. These are his minutes played. I'm just going to read them for like his last 10 games. 37, 34, 32, 36, 32, 36, 34, 32, 35. That is a ton of minutes. Steals, 3, 3, 2, 3, 3, 4, 3, 2, 2. 3-pointers, 3, 3, 1, 4, 2, 2. Like assists, 7, 7, 8, 6, 7, 7. He is balling, dude. And nobody talks about Davion Mitchell. Nobody cares about Davion Mitchell. But they're not playing Terry Rozier. They're not playing Jaime Jaquez. It is the Davion Mitchell show in Miami. I think him and Bona, are the 2 best pickups there are right now.
That's you said nobody's talking about them, but I've noticed you're talking about him. Like,
well,
you maybe you and Rick. No, Mitchell Rick, specifically, because Mitchell has had a reputation for being a whack fantasy Hall of Fame kind of a guy, getting so many minutes and not doing anything with them. But lo and behold, that trend shifted. And I mean, folks have hopped on the bandwagon a tiny bit, but not to the extent that you just described those numbers. Those are pretty damn good numbers. I'm sure there's some holes in them somewhere. But
he's even getting rebounds. And he's shooting it well. Like his shooting percentage is good. The thing, it was funny. I brought him up to Rick yesterday. I said, Davion Mitchell's on fire. And Rick kind of looked at me and he pulled him up. And he looked at his game log and he goes, dude, yeah, you're on to something here. Like I think most people, even fantasy experts, like discount Davion Mitchell as a Eric Snow guy, just like plays minutes and doesn't do anything, but this is a different guy. So thank you for letting me go on my Davion Mitchell rant.
No, this is what wins leagues is flipping a trend that's been a trend forever, and then it's not a trend anymore. And then, you're the one collecting all the gold. So that's
I will also say tough. In Miami, Pell Larson was on fire for 3 games, and he started in all 3 of those games. He started again Thursday night, but he didn't do anything. I think he only had 2 points, but he did have a steal and a block or something like that. Pell Larson will be fine. I think he'll bounce back in the next one. And he should be pretty readily available as well.
I'll add to the collective radar. Justin Edwards has been a little quiet lately, so maybe he's been dropped, but and he's got a nice spot in Philly. And then at some point, count the games for Jeff Doughton Jr. If he doesn't go active, there's 5 games left from Saturday to end of season for Philly. If he doesn't play on Saturday, if he's not active, that'll be 2 remaining possible games with 4 possible to play for Philly. If that made any sense at all, probably didn't. But let's say he doesn't play for 3 games or X amount of games. You're going to see more likelihood that Jeff Doughton Jr. gets to play in 2 games for this season. I don't know if they'll do anything to sign him the rest of the way. I kind of feel like that ship has sailed. But there will be 2 good Jeff Doughton games somewhere here in this mix. And I don't know if you'll be able to count on that for Monday and Wednesday, but maybe the back end of the week. That could get interesting.
There's one more name here too.
Hmm.
Kyle Lowry. If you want that's a joke. Do not add Kyle Lowry. He's not.
When Kyle Lowry got put back on the injury report as a potential player, I was like, that's a great move. Daryl, you are really innovating in the world of tanking. Let's get to the Thursday squads. We got, Tuesday, Thursday. You've got Minnesota, Brooklyn, Memphis, Milwaukee, Cleveland, Indiana, New Orleans, New York, and Atlanta. This cluster, don't attempt to remember that I just said that, but let's get some streamers from this group of teams. Let's start with you, Mark.
So we're starting to get into some of the teams that have solidified playoff standings. And because of that, we may want to lightly circle and pencil or watch list through your fantasy platform some names where if the main guys don't play, these guys could step up. So on Cleveland, they should lock up the 1 seed in the Eastern Conference pretty soon and won't have a chance at home court advantage over the whole playoffs. So I think we could easily see Garland, Mitchell be out, which could mean someone like Craig Porter Jr. steps up, sees, 30, 35 minutes the last couple games. And he's always produced when he's gotten minutes.
Mark.
Jalen Tyson. Yes, go ahead. Yes,
how much did Bruski pay you to say that?
You know what? I just want to shout your memory out, Doc. Like you're an elephant that never forgets. That is an amazing display of memory. I was hot on Craig Porter Jr. for the hot air quotes. But
you've got him in a lineup right now, right?
That is actually a true statement, and that is a field goal percentage play. That is a strategic. It's like a punt almost. So our field goal percentage doesn't get hurt. Is in play there, and he's going to go 1 for 11 the minute that I do that. But I digress. Yeah. I'm just happy you had that great memory over there.
Well, to answer Doc's question, he had paid me $15. So that's my going rate to shout out players.
How much did I pay you for Keon Ellis talk this season?
Oh, that was priceless.
Priceless, exactly.
But no, so Craig Porter Jr. potentially could be a player. Watch those Cleveland Cavaliers injury reports, and Jalen Tyson maybe too. Even going a little deeper there, these would be more long shots, but I think names we should keep in mind.
Mark, I'll give you $15. I'll give you $15 to go on a 5-minute soliloquy about Grady Dick.
Well, he's not playing, so it's not really relevant to the current segment.
Okay.
Another deep name wanted to shout out though, Drew Timme, who, if you remember from college days, was a Gonzaga big who probably is not going to translate to the NBA, but has made his way back. And he's kind of putting up some interesting stuff when he gets minutes. So another name I might circle and pencil or watch list for later in the week if the Nets injury reports get a little crazy.
The Nets are a disaster. Like, I look at that roster and try to figure out if I could stream anyone any given night. It's like, no, it's bad.
I'd be looking at Keon Johnson. Keon Johnson, I think this is his week. Like, he's been kind of getting the raw end, the short end of the stick there, and it's like it's for like D'Angelo Russell, and it's just like there was the Cam Thomas stuff, and basically, I kind of wonder if they just reward him for his solid contributions and effort throughout this mess. So I like him there.
Shout out D'Angelo Russell. Thursday night against his former team, he went 0 for 6, 0 points in 13 minutes. we may not see D'Angelo Russell again. He's got a bad ankle. They took him out of the game Thursday. Why even bother running him out there at this point? So somebody's got to step up. And Keon Johnson was actually pretty good last week. He's had a couple weird games though. They're all just hard to trust, man.
Hey, and they're on an island right now. Like they have Philly 2 games ahead of them as of standings heading into Saturday action, ballparkish, and it's not going to be possible for Philly to catch them in the tank race. I don't think so. I think they're probably going to play these games hard, and I think that might actually work out well for Keon Johnson, because if it gets too messy, if they take out too many players, they turn into like G League games, and percentages go sour really quick, and guys just don't make shots, and it gets really ugly. You get those broken box scores. I'd prefer to see Brooklyn keep it nice and tight. Who else do you guys like? Just shout them out.
Scottie Pippen Jr.
Hell yeah.
I was gonna.
I went with the deeper names
That's what I was gonna
first,
say.
and I was going to let Doc take the floor on some of the other names then.
You
go ahead.
take
That's
a
what
good
I was
one, and
gonna
then okay, all right. Anybody else rise to the top of this?
Well, I just
grouping?
wanted John Morant was Kamla's Magic Man in Friday's show from Thursday night, and John Morant did enough to be like one of the best players of the whole night, and Scottie Pippen still filled up the stat sheet with Ja doing all that, which we haven't really seen that happen too much in the past. So I do think we could have a Scottie Pippen resurgence, even with John Morant being healthy, which that would be wild, because like I said, we haven't seen that before. He had 17.7 assists, 2 steals, and a 3. No, he hit 3 3-pointers and hit 6 of 9 shots. So Pippen was awesome on Thursday. I don't know if he can keep doing it, but I was impressed that he did that with John Morant going off.
What about Atlanta, New York, New Orleans, Indiana, Mark? With the remaining teams that play both Tuesday and Thursday, if you start looking, if you're creating little charts on pieces of paper, where you say the Tuesday, Thursday guys are these guys. What do you think about those squads? Who rises to the top of the list for you?
Even though Karl Anthony Towns has returned, I still like Mitchell Robinson there. Still been doing enough with some rebounds and defensive stats. We saw his defensive stats increase, both the steals notably last season, and that's kind of held in his limited minutes this season. So I like Mitchell Robinson if you need those stats. Zachary Ricochet, maybe you hit that pop-off game where all his threes hit. Doesn't necessarily do enough in other categories, so it's kind of a boom-bust for those threes. But when it has it going, yeah, you're gonna spike a good threes and points performance there.
Doc, feel free to shout out any names that you like. I think
I'm only messing with Mitchell Robinson if Cat's not playing. I just can't do it. And again, I have a head-to-head mindset. You guys have more of a roto headset. Is that right? Mindset. Did I say headset?
I'm wearing a headset.
I've got more of a head-to-head.
I'm wearing my roto
mindset.
headset as we speak.
So I need my guys to perform every night they go out there. And if Mitchell Robinson is coming off the bench behind Cat, he's not going to do much. But when Cat's out, Mitchell Robinson has.
I see your numbers, lately. Mark. Mitchell Robinson with the defensive stats has been on my radar as well. And if you're in a streaming roto situation, or streaming or roto situation, it's definitely worth keeping an eye on, and depending on needs and league sides and all that stuff. I think in Indiana, the potential absences for Tyrese Halliburton, they bring all those dudes, the Matherins, if he's playing, that is, the Nemhards, the Neesmiths, and a lot of these guys should be rostered in a lot of situations anyway. TJ McConnell, I think, is a great lottery ticket kind of a guy to play in these kinds of situations. So give them a look. New Orleans, the Makoviches, the Kelly Olynyk's, the Eve Mises, the who else? Who else?
Jordan Hawkins, but he's just a volume play. I think I don't really trust his production.
Hawkins is hurt though, right?
Oh, is he? Okay. Well,
they're all but now that you
they're
have
all
clarity,
hurt. They're all
they're all
banged up.
hurt. Now that you have
Aren't we all
clarity,
hurt in some way or manner?
So
everybody's hurt
I'm fired up about Ryan Rollins.
sometimes.
And Rick and
Yes,
I
you
went
are.
all in on Ryan Rollins on Thursday night. He hit 4 of 8 shots and 2 threes, but he only scored 10 points with 2 rebounds, 1 assist, no steals, no blocks. Like, not a very good game. But if you look at Ryan Rollins' game log, and he plays for Milwaukee, in case you're wondering, 23, 5 and 5 with 2 steals, 10, 4 and 5 with 2 threes. He had 5 threes in that previous game as well. 20 points, 5 boards, 4 assists, 3 threes, 17 points, 3 assists, 2 threes, 2 steals. Like, Ryan Rollins has been playing really well. He's been playing really heavy minutes for Milwaukee. Damian Lillard is probably coming back at some point. It probably won't be until the playoffs, though. I think Ryan Rollins is good to go the rest of the way. I love picking him up right now and riding it. And then what was the other? And then Kevin Porter Jr. I don't trust him. I don't think I'm messing with him. I'd much rather have Ryan Rollins.
So let's do this for the we got games, probably teams that are playing 2 games back to back Tuesday and Wednesday. Now, these are not quality days. It's 10 games a pop on both of them, and it's quite a few teams. It's like 8, 11. Yeah, it's about 10 teams here, and you guys have them on your notes. OKC, Chicago, Washington, Golden State, Orlando, San Antonio, Clippers, Phoenix, Boston, Charlotte, and Lakers. For those of you who are keeping score at home, what I would like you guys to do is give me your top streamer of the entire group. And then, because I want to save time for Mark's Dynasty analysis, that's what the people are clamoring for. And I hate to pass up on that just because there's not going to be a lot of opportunity for people to stream in these days. But Mark, who's your top streamer of this group of teams?
I'm going to guess on roster percentage here. And I think this guy's been a little out of sight, out of mind the past month. So Grayson Allen from the Phoenix Suns with Kevin Durant hurting and most likely out until the end of the season. And that's probably going to be just one more week for the Suns. Grayson Allen can step up and help fill that void a little bit. We saw last season when Durant was out and when Beal or Booker was out, Allen really stepped up. I believe he was a favorite of both of y'all's last season. And it's been a little hit and miss with Allen this season because of injuries, but he kind of looks back. I believe he saw about 30, 35 minutes earlier this week. So, I think he can just step in and kind of gives you a good range of stats across the board. And I think he's going to have probably one of the more reliable minutes with all the streaming names you're looking at from those teams.
Doc, who's your top streamer from 11 teams?
Yeah. As far as Grayson Allen goes, he's been pretty rough this season, right? And the last game on Thursday night, was it Thursday or Wednesday? One of those nights, he went off. He hit like a bunch of threes, scored a ton of points. He looked amazing. And Kevin Durant is out for probably for the rest of the season. But Royce O'Neal missed that game with an illness. So Royce O'Neal and Grayson Allen are probably going to share time. And I still think Grayson Allen's a solid pickup right now if he's available. But just be careful of the Royce O'Neal buzzkill there. As far as my favorite pickup, it's probably one of the 2 point guards. I like Colin Gillespie in Phoenix. That Phoenix ship is sinking. He had 18 points, 4 assists, 2 steals, and 4 3-pointers on Tuesday night. The game before that was bad. He hit 1 of 9 shots for 3 points. But the game before that, he popped for 22 and 10. And he's playing a ton of minutes. He's playing in front of Tyus Jones. And he may not be the most trustworthy guy, but I do like Colin Gillespie. And the other one I really like is KJ Simpson, who's going to play point guard the rest of the way for the Charlotte Hornets.
Beautiful, beautiful stuff. If I had to pick, I'm going to go with Aaron Wiggins. This is very risky stuff. OKC will theoretically rest some players in this game, and hopefully there's enough ramp for Wiggins to get his feet underneath him after some time off, and he can be the big winner there in OKC. Okay, Mark, we got some buy lows in Dynasty and some sell highs. I don't know how many we'll get to here, but let's start with some buy lows here. You provided a list. I think there's an interesting name on this list. Let's go right to it. You had Kawhi Leonard on this list. What compelled you, sir, to place the Kawhi Leonard on this Dynasty buy low list?
He's kind of been awesome the past month, really getting up there. Granted, some of it's on hot shooting over 50% from deep. I think he's shooting 65% from mid range. But I mean, the story here is that he's playing in pretty much all the games, playing well, playing a good minutes load, which frankly I didn't see coming. I thought he was going to be a lot more managed than this. Maybe it's because the Clippers are in the thick of the playoff race or the play-in game race. But I mean, he's playing. He's looking pretty good. And I think it's more, maybe this is perception here. Maybe the manager that rosters Kawhi is thinking, well, now I can sell him. Now I can trade him away because he's actually doing good enough where he has enough value to trade away. But if it keeps up, if you get, 80, 90% of this Kawhi next season for a majority of the games, I think you're going to be really happy with that for that trade point. It's not for the faint of heart. I would still feel iffy doing it if I was not a contending team. But I don't think the acquisition cost is going to be too high for Kawhi Leonard, given everything we've seen from him the past couple seasons.
Yeah, I like the way that your mind is working on this one, because the thing that I noticed with Kawhi, I actually picked up Kawhi everywhere in drafts. It felt, I don't know what the percentage of my teams that has Kawhi. And early in draft season, it was there was a 6th round pick or something, because, the news hadn't come out yet. And then the news got really bad, and I was getting them in the 10th and the 12th round. It was just some crazy places. And now he's just powering all these squads. And the big thing is that he looks healthy-ish out on the floor. And yeah, the narrative surrounding him is so powerful that you're onto something with this.
May I speak?
No. You know the rules, Doc. No.
I almost said at the beginning, you guys wake me up if you need me.
Before we go.
I do have a Kawhi Leonard take, and I'm going to play contrarian here.
He's got a Dorito knee.
Dude, he's going to be 34 years old in June. 34. Yes. And Mark said he's been great the last month. Dude has been great ever since he came back and started playing games, which was December, maybe?
Late December, early January.
This is Dynasty, though, and he's 34 years old. And even in a redraft league next year, and given even how awesome Kawhi has been this year, I'm not drafting Kawhi Leonard. I don't want a ticking time bomb on my roster. So you guys buy low on Kawhi all you want. I am in a sell high on Kawhi camp, because this is a fluke.
I love this. I love this right here. This is what Mark's point essentially is the GM that's got Kawhi Leonard probably salivating at the opportunity to make the move, and it's a distressed asset play. I love it. I'm on the other side, but I get it, Doc. There's a lot of risk, a lot of reward. I don't know what the price would be. It's going to vary between the GMs out there. Let's move this.
And that's what it boils down to, right? If someone's saying, "Oh, I want, a top 3 rookie pick in this next draft," I'd say, "Nope, too bad." I wouldn't do that. But if it's okay, maybe more like a player we'll talk about later, Jabari Smith Jr. Yeah, I would. If I'm a contending team, I would think very hard about that.
Since you did it, let's go there. You call Jabari Smith Jr. a dynasty sell high. You're a Houston guy. You've watched this player play probably every game of his career, I would imagine. Why are you over him?
before we get into Jabari Smith Jr., I think I realized when I gave over the sell highs, these are probably more, some of them are more sell mids or sell lows, but also players I'm fine moving on from because I don't think they're perceived.
But isn't
upside
everybody
room for
view
solid.
Jabari Smith in the context of like, oh, tough luck injuries and, it's a crowded team. And what if this guy got a break somehow? There's talent here. He's the next Evan Mobley.
That is part of it. And, if that is the consensus public thinking, I do try to gauge the consensus public thinking, but I also stick pretty hard to my dynasty takes. So it's sometimes hard for me to generate buy low and sell high lists because I think my perception is usually the correct perception. That probably sounds really prideful.
Well, let's ask Doc. What do you think of Jabari Smith?
I think he's been playing very well lately. I mean, I can't believe how many double-doubles he's racked up lately. I just don't know. Houston's tough, man. Houston is where Oklahoma City was like 2 years ago. And we've seen Fred VanVleet getting squeezed. Like, he does not fit with that team, I don't think. I just want Jalen Green to run. And Fred VanVleet's game log is a disaster. It's hard to even look at. I don't know where Jabari Smith fits with that team in its current state. And there's not enough room for him to do what he needs to do. Like, if Jabari Smith was on the Atlanta Hawks, I think he'd be a baller. And we'd all be like, oh, Jabari Smith. But he's just stuck in a rut in Houston. And I don't know when he's going to get out of it. So I don't. That's about all I got.
So I wanted to bring Doc in is to give the texture to the conversation that you're having, Mark, which is you believe he's a sell high because I think a lot of people think that Jabari Smith has something more to give, and that's built into his sales price, so to speak. So why are you wanting to move off of that as somebody that watches him all the time?
It's interesting because I feel like I both defend and then say trade away Jabari Smith, not from a Rockets perspective, from a fantasy perspective, because I value a lot of things he does on the court. I think he's a very versatile defender, a pretty hard-nosed rebounder, which you wouldn't actually think necessarily with he's 6'10", but maybe not the most jack shoulders guy, but he actually fights really hard on the both offensive and defensive glass. You add that versatile defending, a fairly willing shooter, adds an element of spacing. When he was out, it was pretty evident. I mean, our offense is normally a slog anyways, but it was even worse when Jabari Smith was out. So I think he does have a lot of valuable tools that don't translate to fantasy, though. Yes, the rebounds are there, but you don't see his defensive ways translating to steals or blocks in high volumes. You don't see him driving his own usage or shot creation too much. He's mainly taking these contested jumpers, fadeaway jumpers in the post, or contested mini dribble step backs on threes. And that's just not really conducive to a high upside fantasy game.
Yeah.
I think the Rockets value him a lot. I don't think he'll be put in the trades this upcoming offseason or really following. And I think the Rockets just value everything he brings to the team. And if he's going to stay on the Rockets, I think it's going to be hard for him to have those opportunities to develop his usage. And I don't even think he's a player that would instinctually up his usage that much more.
I want to ask you about move off of Jabari and get to Josh Giddey here. Giddey's having a hell of a season right now, after the pivot. And that's what you can't see. You're listening on the pod feed is Doc pumping his fists in victory. And I'm happy. I got a couple Giddies out there, and I've never been the Josh Giddey guy. But Mark, you got him here as a sell high. Big name, big buzzy name. What's the thinking here?
It's tricky with Josh Giddey because I think he's a player that if he is your lead offensive option, you'll be the Chicago Bulls, which is not a place any NBA team wants to be. However, I don't think the Chicago Bulls really have any great avenues in the immediate future. So I think they're going to end up paying him a pretty sizable contract. And that will mean that he will end up being the leading man and see all this usage and be able to get all these points and these rebounds and assists. So it's tricky because even if I don't evaluate him as the best player with the ball in his hands, and I think he's best for fantasy with the ball in his hands, even though he has done more activity cutting and off ball, which has been great to see. But I think he's best for fantasy with the ball in his hands. If he's re-signs on the Bulls, like I think that's going to happen, then he is going to get this usage. And it's frustrating from an individual standpoint because I'll see people out there praising Josh Giddey and saying, look, he's shooting now. He's doing all this. Josh Giddey's amazing. And I'm still like, no, he's like fine, but he's going to get all the usage. I think there will be a shoe that drops sometime eventually. And he's more, maybe not rotation player, but like a mid to high 20s player. The second primary offensive option, I like to call these types of players, but I think he'll be pushed into a primary option on the Bulls. And it's just a question of how long do you think that role and opportunity will last for him? I wrote last offseason that Giddey was a sell high, even though I thought he would produce on the Bulls. Well, first start of the season was rough. Second half was very strong. And I think it's the same story here. I think he is a sell high depending on what you can get back for him. Like if you get a top 30, top 50 player, I would probably pull that trigger in a heartbeat and hit accept. But if you still want that immediate production, I think there's an argument just to kind of wait out and get that production that he is going to generate in the next, season or two.
Yeah, that's a fascinating discussion right there. When your best stat guy is not really giving it to you on defense, that's always a bad equation for a team. I think the part that I heard that made the most sense was that when the next shoe drops, whenever that might be, that's going to be the thing that kind of crushes the value. And since that's not really foreseeable at this point in time, I think people are all, they're all systems go for Josh Giddey. And so the value out there will probably be immense. And I really like what you're doing there. I'm going to go dealer's choice for the rest of your buy lows and sell highs. Mark, the floor is yours. Who would you like to talk about?
Let's go to buy low and let's talk about Scotty Barnes here.
Old Scotty.
And I'm very conflicted if he is a buy low or if he is just seeing a slight dip in value. He was kind of seen as this more top 10, 15 dynasty asset throughout the season. Someone who could be your Swiss Army 9-cap player, contribute across the board. The Raptor season has been a mess. Part of that has been Scotty Barnes not shooting the three ball all that well, not really being that great on offense. He's been pretty putrid the last month. I mean, part of that, I'm sure, is the Raptors intermittently sitting stars, resting stars, playing other players, sitting starters, playing starters, in and out of the lineup. But it's not like Barnes is really inspiring anything himself. Now, if you think this is more of a blip of the Raptors season and that whole morass, and he can bounce back a little bit, which, I think should be in the cards, but it's a question of how much does he bounce back. What also complicates the Barnes picture is that we haven't seen any of Brandon Ingram yet. And they already agreed to a pretty hefty contract extension. And so how is that pairing going to work next season when you have Scotty Barnes, Brandon Ingram, and also Emmanuel Quickly? You also have RJ Barrett presumably still there. That's just a lot of mouths to feed. And is Barnes going to get enough usage to see those points high? Or is it going to be more that, 18, 19 points per game, maybe like 5 assists per game instead of like 21 points per game versus, 7, maybe pushing 8 assists a game? I think this is a spot where you might know that the immediate production may be a little funky, but you still have that long-term vision in mind with Scotty Barnes. But some managers might just be really frustrated with him this season and be willing to move off of him.
He's 23 years old. I don't know if Doc, you got a take here, but 23 years.
There was a report that came out. I'm sorry, bro. There's a report that came out today that he's got finger injuries and he can hardly dribble the ball. He can hardly shoot. He's been shooting with like 3 fingers. And I don't know how long that has been there, but I feel like it's been a problem for several weeks. I think they may shut him down. I think that's why he's stunk sucked so bad lately.
He's gunning
but
for
as far as
65
Dynasty
games. Like that's the other
Yeah.
interesting thing here. He's gunning for 65 games to get the contractual benefits from playing in 65 games. All NBA kind of potential and all of that.
So he's been playing hurt, but as far as
Yeah.
getting him for the future, Brandon Ingram, him going to Toronto and them going after him that hard is one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. I still don't understand it. I don't know why they want him so bad. He's always hurt. He's going to hurt Scotty Barnes. So I am worried about Barnes. I think that's a great point. Brandon Ingram is going to get there, and he's going to pull a DeMar DeRozan on the Raptors, just like DeRozan did on the Kings.
Oh, that's great. That is so great. The people of Sacramento love you, Doc. The thing that I love this buy low because the vision of Brandon Ingram coming in and screwing things up, it's got its it'll get its claws into people, and then you got this weird season and the down shooting. And I get worried about Scotty Barnes' defensive stats. He had a nice uptick in steals this season and a downtick in blocks. How's that all going to go over the long term? He's probably as athletic as he will get, but there's probably more defensive potential there. And as far as Ingram goes, my only theory would be that like these deals get made with so much kind of advance notice that maybe he's like, I'm just going to take 2 seasons off and I'm going to end up in Toronto somehow. And that he's not as unhealthy as we think he is, and that somehow that was the reasoning behind the deal is they think that they've got a healthy asset. But the flip side of that, and the more logical / likely side, is that he's going to just show up and get hurt, and then Scotty Barnes is going to be kind of cut loose to do Scotty Barnes things, and whoever does the buy low is going to get a great deal. Mark, we got time for maybe one more, and we got to get out of here. So who would you like to talk about?
Okay. Okay, let's do sell high, and let's talk about Jeremy Sohan. Someone I talked about on last week for the Pun Intended podcast, and the short of the long of it, is that the phrase? If you're shortening it, the summary of that was he's basically just not living up to expectations.
My mind is blown.
And just he was profiled as this kind of, I don't want to say Draymond Green light because I hate that draft comparison, but sort of a player who could chip in a lot of errors, be useful on defense, provide some defensive stats, chip in some assists, maybe you see the shooting develop, and just contribute everywhere. The problem is he hasn't really developed in any of those non-core areas. We haven't seen his 3-point game increase. If anything, it's gotten worse. We haven't really seen him be any bulk passing. The passing somewhat been there, but it's not highly impressive. I mean, yeah, his rebounding has improved a little bit. His finishing inside the arc has actually improved quite a bit to be, I think, actually pretty good and useful. But the defensive stats aren't there. So you're talking about the bad defensive stats, not much passing, not really a high volume scorer, not hitting his threes. And it's just like, what is he giving you? And he's also seeing less minutes in this stretch for the Spurs. When you would think they would say, hey, we have some players out. Let's see if Sohan can do a little more. But he's seeing like 20, 25 minutes a game. Maybe there's some nagging injury there. I haven't really seen any reporting of that personally. So it's just like the Spurs don't seem to really believe in him too much. I don't think he's really a great fit next to the players they brought in terms of De'Aaron Fox, Stephen Castle, whose opinions may vary on him, and Victor Wembanyama, obviously. So the Spurs are indicating a lack of faith of him. He's going into his fourth season next year. And even if the Spurs don't re-sign him, I'm sure he'll get a chance elsewhere. But I just don't see a team really buying into this vision of Jeremy Sohan all too much.
Oh, you got Andre chirping in the private chat. Yeah, that's tough sledding for Sohan, especially with the fantasy deficiencies that he has. And ultimately he's going to have to develop some kind of an elite skill to hang on by not having, the well-rounded game that would keep him on the floor and keep him productive over the long haul. Great stuff as usual. And just so much going on. I can't wait for the offseason to be talking Dynasty and really digging in. Dynasty is so much fun. I'm glad that I'm in a bunch of Dynasty leagues now, so I can say that's something that I do with more frequency. I used to kind of fade that a little bit, and now not so much. So thank you very much for all of the help that you provide in that area, Mark. And thank you, Doc, as well. I'm going to go ahead and get us out of here. Guys, we're making investments in the platform. We want to hear your feedback for tools and anything involving our operation, whether it's on the website, social, free, paid membership content, you name it. We want to hear about it right now. So send that into support@sportsethos.com. And thank you guys for another great show. One more week to go. Let's all get those chips. And I think that'll do it for us. So for Andre, for Doc, for Mark, this has been Fantasy NBA Today, the week ahead, the last week ahead of the season. And we will see you on Monday. Me and Rick will go in the morning. I believe that's the next show we will have. And then it'll be Doc and Rick for the rest of the week. Doc, you look like you got something to say. Or did I read that wrong?
Oh, I'm just blown away. I just looked at my fantasy baseball team on Yahoo, and there's a note at the top that says players using torpedo bats are now marked with a new torpedo icon.
What? Oh my God. Okay. Well, you're going to have to go check out Fantasy.
So now I know
MLB
which of my players
today.
are using torpedoes.
And to figure out what the hell is a torpedo bat. Oh my God. Back in the day when I played, we didn't have those things. My goodness. Listen to Fantasy MLB Today, and you'll get all of the updates on whatever the hell that is. But seriously, guys, it's been a great season. Can't wait to finish out this next week with you guys. Can't wait to report back on these championships. 10 of 13 top 3 potential finishes in high stakes. I cannot believe it. What a great season. Hopefully you guys got a piece of that as well. And that's going to do it for us here today for Fantasy NBA Today. Till next time, ladies and gentlemen, be well.